In House of M, the world was changed. But what happened to the Avengers? Welcome back to Comicstorian, where we take trade paperbacks in single issues and break them down into digestible bites, then we read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Recently, we've covered the main House of M storyline where the Scarlet Witch altered the world, making mutants the true inheritors of the Earth, while Homo sapiens are treated, well, like the way the mutants are normally treated. We also covered the aftermath of the day after the infamous words, "No more mutants." But today we're gonna dive into one of the side stories, House of M Avengers. So let's jump on in. Back in the day, things were a lot different in New York for Luke Cage. There were always mutants, but they mostly stayed in the closet, kept quiet, and didn't draw attention. These days though, they're everywhere. Doesn't matter if the people are black, white, yellow, or red, unless they are all the same dude. Now mutants are sitting on the top of the ladder, and humans, well, they say there won't be none left in 100 years. But one night, while Luke was getting his bearings back in the big city, he bumped into a mutant. Guy was made like a literal bull, and he didn't take kindly to Luke causing him to spill his drink. And when he decided to take out some frustrations on a sape, Luke let him have it right across the jaw. This only made the mutant angry, and just like any bull in a fit of rage, he charged at Luke. Except when he slammed into Luke, he broke his horns. But Luke had other business to tend to in Harlem, an old friend by the name Willis Stryker. And Luke wasn't going to be very subtle about it, not after smashing through a wall into Willis's club. Just like New York, things were different back then with Willis. They were practically brothers. Willis was a mutant, and Luke was just a poor kid. However, that didn't matter to them. They'd soon start getting into trouble, taking things that didn't belong to them. But then along came Rava. Rava went for Luke, and not Willis. And Willis thought that it was because he was a mutant. So one night, Willis planted some drugs in Luke's apartment, just enough to get charges with intent to distribute. Willis then got what he wanted, and no one would blame Rava either. But she already knew something was off. That heroin that was planted on Luke, it was supposed to be sold, and when it didn't, someone had to pay. Not Willis though. He walked away without a scratch. He always did. It was Rava who paid the price. Willis wasn't the one who shot Rava, but he might as well have been. For Luke though, he was sent to Seagate Prison in the Florida swamps. At Seagate, they like their inmates to shut up and do what they're told, which made it hard when the guards were nothing but a bunch of racist rednecks who got off on beating dudes who couldn't fight back. But even as Luke spent his time in solitary or the infirmary, the world outside kept turning. There was a war between mutants and humans, and it didn't go so well for the humans. That's when Dr. Jonas Harrow came in and offered a way to reduce Luke's sentence by injecting him with Lord knows what. Something about creating super soldiers and serving the country. But after a while, Luke couldn't take it and broke out. The experiments must have worked because he was tearing metal with his bare hands. Not to mention the shotgun blast to him didn't really do much of anything. The scientists must not have been too worried since no one came after him, which worked out fine since everyone was more distracted that Magneto had actually won the war. Suddenly, everyone wanted to be Homo superior. And thanks to the Transformer mutants Magneto sent around the world, some of them got their wish. But all that didn't matter to Luke. The world was changing, and he only cared about one thing. Or one person in this case. Back in the present, Willis wastes no time trying to put Luke down. Except it's hard to cut someone whose skin is indestructible. So Willis tried something else, spitting acid in Luke's eyes. Where that worked a little, slowing Luke down for a bit, Willis forgot that you can't really bite down on skin made of steel. Luke punched Willis through a wall, and Willis resorted to a last-ditch effort to try and stop Luke once and for all, with a grenade. The grenade went off and did a lot of damage, but only to one person. As the smoke and fire faded, all of Willis's underlings came running in, asking if their boss was okay. Luke stepped up through the debris, saying, "Boss, he likes the sound of that." Turns out Willis's crew liked it too. Luke eventually moved out of Harlem over to Hell's Kitchen, a place where all the humans have been going. People called it Sapient Town. Luke then started clearing out the territories, starting with Cockroach Hamilton, then Piranha Jones, and then Hammerhead. One night while doing a job, Luke and his crew were caught off guard by a man named Hawkeye. Hawkeye happened to be pulling the same heist at the same place, but word on the street was Hawkeye was doing it more as a statement rather than for the haul. So Luke had a little business proposition for him, and soon after, the crew started looking for new blood. First up was the man people called Iron Fist. Iron Fist wasn't too receptive at first, if the punch to Luke's face was any indication. But the scuffle brought on the eyes of another, Moon Knight. Moon Knight was ex-CIA, wanted for war crimes during the Human-Mutant Wars. Dude was hardcore, seen it all, done it all, killed it all. He and Iron Fist were both sapients, who had reasons to hate the House of M, and to be hated by them. Not long after that, Hawkeye found himself a lady. Ex-SHIELD agent pushed out when the mutants took over. Codename Mockingbird. Things were going well for the crew. They were making a name for themselves while keeping out of sight. But one day when walking home, Luke found a group of humans beating on a mutant. Or at least someone who could pass off for one. After clearing the humans out, Luke learned that the woman's name was Tigra, and that she was shot by the humans. Things started to get complicated after that, so much so that the police were starting to keep watch. But without much going on, they sent in their finest to go undercover, Officer Misty Knight. A few months went by since Misty got into the crew, and Luke finally allowed her to go on a combat mission. They were fighting against the Dragons, a rival mob run by Shang-Chi. The Dragons were based in Chinatown, but started making moves into Sapient Town. Eventually, the Sons of the Tiger got involved, and it turned into an all-out brawl. However, Luke told everyone that this isn't about some turf war, but instead they need to band together if they want to survive. Soon, the fighting died down, but Misty knew that it would be difficult to get any hard evidence on criminal activity by Cage. He was too smart, but the closer she could get, the more opportunities would arise. But while Misty set her roots down in Luke's crew, there was another human who was about to have his whole world changed. Frank Castle was in Central Park with his wife and children when they stumbled upon a murder in progress. Frank used his training to take down one of the mutants and take his gun, then ruthlessly kill the others. Later, after being picked up by the police, John Proudstar of the FBI was sent in to figure out what happened. But Thunderbird already knew the stories of Frank Castle, retired U.S. Marine Corps, the Punisher. Thunderbird said that he is actually there to offer him a position in a new strike force being made to crack down on organized crime. Frank figured that he was only being asked because he would probably be the only human on this team, so they can show they're not prejudiced. Off the records, he was right. But for a human with his sort of skills, he would fit well in the roster. The others being the Blob, Avalanche, Boom Boom, Taskmaster, and Feral. Together, they're called the Brotherhood. Welcome to the family. But back with Misty, she continued her investigation, but everyone is tight-lipped about their backgrounds, especially Cage. However, as Thunderbird looks over Misty's report, he looks up saying some of her phrasing. It sounds almost like admiration for what these people are doing. Misty tells him it's not that, but she can see why the people love and protect them. They are like the guardians of a minority community, wanted to be seen as equals. Thunderbird says she might want to reconsider her thoughts on the matter. They may end up removing her, or even firing her if he so chooses. Which also means that she'd have to turn in her weapons, including that bionic arm that the department has provided her with. So if she wants to do the right thing, they must stop Luke from becoming the symbol of the people of Sapient Town. She'll help arrange a conflict between Cage and the Dragons. Once they've beaten on each other, the police will move in, taking both groups into custody in one fell swoop. Misty asks, how are they going to take down a man who's bulletproof? And Thunderbird pulls out a gun saying, with this. This pistol fires specially designed bullets with an adamantium core. It'll pierce Cage's skin like a hot knife through butter. Now here's the plan. A few nights later, they got a tip that some tech used in those inhibitor collars was passing through their part of town. However, the Dragons also got this tip. Luke made a break for the cargo, but as he ripped the doors off the semi, Thunderbird and the Brotherhood sprang out. Thunderbird ordered Misty to take the shot, but when she hesitated, he told Taskmaster to do it. But as Taskmaster pulled the trigger, Tigra jumped in the way to take the shot. Luke fought his way through, asking what happened, and Thunderbird tells Misty that she was given an order: shoot now or be ready to be thrown in prison. Misty then looks down at her gun and fires. There's a split second when Luke looks up to see the gun aimed towards him, but the shot Misty took, it's in the blob's eye. Misty elbows Thunderbird back, saying she made her choice. They can have her badge, but if they want her arm, they're gonna have to take it. As Misty pushes Avalanche away, Thunderbird grabs his radio and tells Taskmaster that Misty has gone rogue. Take her out! But Misty grabs the radio and fires a shot next to it, sending an ear-splitting ring through, causing Taskmaster to drop his gun. Hawkeye fires a smoke arrow to give everyone cover. But Frank Castle walks through, telling everyone to get down on their knees and put their hands behind their heads. Luke picks up Tigra, asking was he the one who shot her? And Frank tells him no, that wasn't him. A second later, Hawkeye lets loose an arrow into the barrel of Frank Castle's gun, saying he really shouldn't take his eyes off the target. Mockingbird asks whose side is he supposed to be on? But Luke tells her to leave him. They're going to split while they can. As everyone leaves, Misty looks back, telling Frank that if he ever gets a second thought about who he's working for, look them up. With everyone gone, Frank returns to Thunderbird, and Thunderbird asks, where is everyone? Frank says, they got away. And Thunderbird turns to Avalanche, telling him to collapse the streets as far as he can. It's not too late. Frank yells that they can't do that. They're civilians. And Avalanche says, yeah, Blob is under there. Thunderbird tells them that a few tons of rock won't hurt the Blob. As for the civilians, anyone on the streets of Sapient Town at this hour is up to no good. And with that, Avalanche brought down the entire neighborhood. The next day, Luke buried Tigra, then planned a heist on a bank. They managed to steal the money, but they didn't keep it. Instead, they gave every last penny to the families of those who were killed or injured in the battle, or had lost their homes. Frank knew of this from his informant, but decided not to tell Thunderbird about it. Soon after, the people started spray painting an A around town. Said it stood for Avengers, because they're the only ones humans feel can deliver real justice. But it didn't stop there. Luke started to work with his old enemies, convincing them that they'd all be better as allies. Treaties were made between Shang-Chi and his dragons, along with the Wolf Pack, a gang of superpowered Sapient kids from the Bronx, and even Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, who has taken over Silvermane's old territory when he got pinched. But while Thunderbird and his team were making waves trying to keep up, Frank started to feel resentment with how some of the other members had been treating their suspects. Specifically one night where Blob and Taskmaster got a little aggressive with some humans just spray painting the Avengers symbol on a wall. However, when Frank said he wanted out, Thunderbird asked what would happen to him, or even his family, if he'd left. Maybe just taking a day off would do him some good. Word of Frank's outburst traveled to Misty, which got Luke to thinking. He told her to reach out to Castle. They might be able to work something out. Several months later, Frank, still on the strike team, brings in a group of humans that were caught with a trunk full of China White in Dragon territory. The officer on shift asks if he wants to book them, but Frank tells him no. He wants to have a little off-the-record chat before that. The guard laughs, saying they'll put a do not disturb sign on the door. Once the door shuts, Frank says, okay, cameras off. What happened to his family? Luke sits down, saying his family's all right. Misty called in just before they left, saying they were outside the Wakandan embassy. That is all he can say for now in case things go bad from here. But whatever happens, they'll be in Wakanda by tomorrow. But outside the office, Taskmaster walks in, and the guards tell him they weren't expecting him tonight. Taskmaster says he was just bored and wanted to see if there was any action. And the guard says the castle just brought in 3 dealers for a chat. They're in room 2. Elsewhere, Frank asks, does this guy know what he's doing? And Luke says Hobie here is a whiz with machines. Hobie then says that he's done infecting their systems and any others that they're connected to with what's called a computer virus. Nothing will happen until someone tries to access files on them, or Mr. Castle here. Then it'll erase them all. But as Frank leads everyone out, they see Taskmaster outside, and Taskmaster says that's some interesting company he'd be keeping around. Luke tells Iron Fist to get the others out. He'll deal with this one personally. Taskmaster fires an arrow, saying that's a dumb move. But as the arrow just crumples and bounces off, Luke says, see, that steel hard thing? It's more than just a figure of speech. As Luke walks forward, Taskmaster tries firing every type of arrow he has, from acid, shock, and explosive, all with the same result: nothing. Once Luke is within range, Taskmaster swings his sword, but it shatters as it hits Luke, and he says, "Oh God, wait, I can pay you!" Luke grabs him by his cape, telling him he's definitely gonna pay. A short while later, at the Wakandan embassy, the aides tell Luke that King T'Challa has granted Mr. Castle asylum. He will leave on the next hovercraft departing for their country. Frank then shakes Luke's hand, saying if there's anything he can do to repay them, and Luke tells him no. Enjoy the freedom and his family. Keep them safe. As Luke and Misty leave, Misty says it felt like this was a bit more than just survival, but Luke stops her, saying he is no freedom fighter. Misty then tells him they could be. There's a bigger world out there, a bigger movement, one that might have a place for them. Luke says he's just an ex-con from Harlem, but Misty pauses and kisses him, saying he's more than just that. Later at the hospital, Blob tells Thunderbird that the doctors say he won't be able to talk again, or use his hands right either. Thunderbird walks out of the room, saying he has no sympathy for Taskmaster. To think that all these years he passed himself off as a mutant when he was just an enhanced sapient, and now Castle has been taken from them? They are nothing more than a joke. They are just going to have to extend their reach a bit. Perhaps they can come to an understanding and make a deal with Kingpin. As years passed, Luke and his crew received a message from Frank all the way over in Wakanda. He says that this has become something much bigger than them. It has become the survival for sapiens as a free people. The King of Wakanda, the Black Panther, he's one of them. This is the last country on Earth where sapiens aren't considered obsolete. That's the good news. The bad news is that everyone knows Magneto won't let a place like that exist much longer. There's a war coming, and they've been preparing for it. And they'll need all the help that they can get. If they're interested, they could use him. If not, he'd understand. They know how to reach him. As the device burns out, Hobie says that the self-destruct mechanism dissolved the device on a molecular level. Probably used a vibranium trigger. He's going to Wakanda. Luke tells him that he can't. They need him here. But Hobie says that they don't. Hawkeye can make his own arrowheads now. Besides, have they seen that place? It's a haven for sapiens, with some of the most advanced tech in the world. He'll be respected there. His work will matter. If he stays, he could get killed. He'd rather die fighting for their freedom than just slinking around in the shadows. As Hobie leaves, Mockingbird says he's not the only one, and Hawkeye asks, what? Luke looks at Misty, telling her to talk some sense into these two, but Misty remains quiet. Luke asks what's gotten into her, But Misty yells that they've had this conversation before. The world's bigger than Sapient Town. It doesn't matter if they can control the neighborhood when there's a whole damn planet out there. And it's not just Wakanda. Rumors have it that the Atlanteans, the Inhumans, folks that stayed neutral last time are getting involved. Luke folds his arms, saying that all his life people have been saying they're looking out for the big picture. What it usually means is the little guy gets screwed. His fight is here, and here is where he's staying. Misty begins to walk out with Mockingbird, saying that it seems they've all made up their minds then. Several days later, at the office of Kingpin, Thunderbird slams his fist on the desk, saying he is rapidly losing his patience with all of this. It's been years, and he has turned a blind eye to all the criminal activity. Unless there are results soon, the FBI and NYPD are going to come down on him like the wrath of God. Bullseye tells Thunderbird he's a pretty mouthy guy for someone outnumbered. And Thunderbird asks, does he really want to see how outnumbered he is? As Thunderbird lets himself out, Black Cat says that if they're going to be working tonight, she's going to need to head home first, feed the cats, take care of some things. Kingpin looks back, saying that she won't have to do that. He knows that she's been feeding information to Luke Cage. Black Cat says she doesn't know who, but Kingpin stops her, saying not to insult him. She wants out of the organization, and she sees Luke as her ticket. He's been aware of her actions from the start. He has made sure she fed him only the information he wanted Luke to have. So thanks to her, he dies tonight. And so does she. All of Kingpin's thugs take turns hitting Black Cat. But as they finish, Kingpin takes her and throws her out of the office window. Over on a construction site in Sapient Town, Luke and Misty wait. And Luke says it's 5 past, and he doesn't see any of her Wakandan pals. Misty tells him not to take out his personal problems on her. He knows that they are careful about meeting. The message said they'd be here, so they'll be here. But Hawkeye runs up yelling that they aren't going to believe this. Mockingbird is gone. Hobie too. They left a note saying they hopped on a royal jet to Wakanda. Luke asks Misty, did she know any of this? And Misty says that Mockingbird must have thought she'd tell him. However, Black Cat swings in, beaten and cut, yelling, it's a trap! It's a... Off in the distance, Thunderbird tells Avalanche to bring it down. As the ground begins to shake, Luke yells, Cloak, we need you, now! Suddenly, a giant cloak expands, covering everyone, and then fades into nothing. Thunderbird asks, what the hell is that? A teleporter? Stop them! Don't let them get away! A few moments later, in an abandoned warehouse, Cloak opens up the portal, letting everyone out, and Misty asks, who the hell is that? And when did he get here? Luke says, the name's Cloak. This was actually a place where drugs were tested on people. But when he came here, it was too late to save the kids. Except for Cloak. He's been keeping him on the down low. An ace in the hole if they ever needed it. Later, in Kingpin's office, Thunderbird tells Kingpin via a computer call that they need to take care of this now. But be on guard. If they have a teleporter, they could be anywhere. Kingpin says that his assassins are the best in the world. The Avengers coming here would be his fondest wish. Kingpin hears a voice telling him, then they can call him Santa Claus, and this must be Christmas. As Cloak unfurls, the portal opens up, and Luke charges in with the others, crashing right into Kingpin's thugs. While everyone focuses on the assassins, Luke pushes his way to Kingpin, and Kingpin tells him that only a businessman can survive this city. Luke swings, saying that he's been surviving here all his life. He tried to do business with them, but they played him, made it personal. As Luke punches into Kingpin's face, he slams over and over, saying that they are going to make it real personal. Once he's done, Luke turns to the computer with Thunderbird on it, asking, did he hear all that? 'Cause there's a new Kingpin in town, and he's coming for you next. As the call disconnects, Thunderbird asks, does he want a war? Fine, they'll give him a war. Give the word. The purge of Sapient Town is a go. In 24 hours, it'll be clear of subversives, or it'll be a pile of smoldering ash. As the days went on, there were more and more reports of Thunderbird cleaning out all the criminals plaguing Sapient Town, openly calling out that anyone protecting or harboring these people should be afraid, because they are coming. While the report finishes, Misty says that Thunderbird wasn't after those people. It's an excuse to start ripping the city apart. Luke sighs, saying he knew this day would come. Okay, anyone who wants out of all this, to go to Wakanda and not look back, this is their chance. No one will think any less of them. As everyone gears up, Iron Fist says that he really hopes they didn't expect anyone to take him up on that. And while everyone stands ready, Luke asks, "Is that a go for all of them?" And Hawkeye says, "Hell yeah it is." But his costume is staying on. Luke says, "All right, Thunderbird has the FBI, the cops, and the House of M backing them. So they are going to have to listen to his plan very carefully. And then they'll show them what it means to be an Avenger." A short while later, over in the Midtown North Precinct, Cloak begins to appear and opens a portal letting one person through. Inside, Luke comes crashing down and starts ripping the metal bars off everyone's cells and breaking their inhibitor cuffs. Some people Luke has fought before, but he tells them that whatever beef they had before is gone as of now. Sapient Town needs them, and the only way they're getting out of here is together. And as the enhanced Sapiens start breaking out, Thunderbird runs in saying this is about to get real close and personal. He lunges straight for Luke, telling him that there will be no more running, no more hiding. Luke says to take a good look. Does this look like running? Luke then punches Thunderbird into a car, but Thunderbird gets back up with the car and bashes it across Luke's chest. While the others keep the crew busy, Thunderbird punches into Luke, telling him it's over. Every last soul in his precious Sapient Town is going to see him fall. Luke grits his teeth, pushing back off the car he was on, and throws it into Thunderbird, shouting, "Like hell they are!" As Luke punches over and over, he says that they were the ones who started this, telling them that they were nothing, that they should all just lie down and die. Well, he got a message for all the people who wrote them off. They will not lie down. Not for him, not for anyone. Once Thunderbird lays motionless on the ground, Luke tells Cloak to open a portal, but Misty tells him to wait and look around. All of the people are cheering for him. Luke laughs, telling Thunderbird it doesn't matter if he heard what was said. The people heard. Later, back at the hideout, Luke pours Misty a glass, asking, is she still going? And she tells him she has to. She'll stick around for a bit and help clean up and make sure the town gets back on its feet, but she really believes the movement in Wakanda is where she needs to be. And whether he wants to admit it or not, they are a part of something greater. Luke says he knows. Seeing all the faces of those people, he realized that she was right, but he can't go just yet. This is his home. And as long as there are people here who need protecting, this is where he belongs. And if there is anything she needs from them, she knows all she has to do is say the word. Misty smiles, saying, the same goes for him. It doesn't matter if they're a world apart, she'll always be his friend, and she'll always be an Avenger. Now come on, in times like these, we should celebrate while we have the chance. And that is the conclusion to House of M Avengers. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, please be sure to leave a comment down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel clicking that bell icon to get notifications, or you can support us over at our Patreon at patreon.com/Comicstorian, where for $2 you get early access to great content and other great stuff. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next week.